Alex Pereira is fighting for the 4th time in 2024. He's defending his belt for the 3rd time. He's the most active fighter on today's UFC roster and the most active champion in UFC history. But he's going against the most dangerous striker he has fought to date, and I don't know if he's going to be able to keep his belt. My name is Angelo. This is We Want Picks, and I'm going to break down the entire UFC 307 fight card, giving you my picks, predictions, and bets. Before we look forward, let's take 30 seconds and look back. UFC Paris was last night. It was an okay event. Couple of sketchy scorecards, couple of wildly dominant performances in fights that we thought would be a little closer. Co-main event, Nasruddin Imavov beat the absolute brakes off of Brendan Allen after a sketchy first round. If you want to hear my whole full take, breakdown, recap, reaction to that entire card, well, this is the thumbnail, and that video is up right now. I filmed it literal minutes after Benoit Saint-Denis was mauled in that main event. So go check that video out and then come back here and watch this one. Before we break down the card, let's look at how we've done in pay-per-views in this year. Pay-per-views are the king of the MMA space, so how you do in pay-per-views matters very, very much. Overall, me specifically, I've done quite well in pay-per-views in 2024. I'm up 7.6 units on the year. There have been 10 pay-per-views so far this year. I'm up over 7 units on those. Jakey Boy's up almost 4, and a combined 11.34 units of net profit on pay-per-views alone. 10% ROI combined and a 70% pay-per-view win rate. There's been 10 pay-per-views. We were profitable in 7 of them. This card is going to be interesting, though, because it is at elevation. But if you want to unlock all the bets, picks, tools, and everything else, you can do so now. It's freaking $10. It's $10. I can't express enough what insane value that $10 is, because it's not just picks and bets. It's also tools. One of the tools we so proudly sit here and talk about is the data analyzer. This is a tool that was coded from scratch. It is the most robust, meaningful, and important research tool you could ever want or need. It has every single event all the way out through November, every single fighter on one of those events, every single meaningful data point for every single fighter on every single one of those events. And then you can go in there and filter out that data. The example you're seeing here is me selecting Khalil Rountree. Once I do that, the images adjust. You can see the countries that they're from and the arena that they're fighting in. Every single data point from his biometrics as well as his fight history. I then say, well, how many strikes does Khalil Rountree land in a fight? Then I say, well, how many does he land in wins? And as I'm making those adjustments, the plot points on the chart are adjusting. And if you hover over a plot point, you're going to see who they fought, the judges for those fights, the scorecards, the outcome, all that information. And then if you click the plot point, the video will pop up and you can watch the actual fight itself. It is by far the most robust research tool on the planet, and we continue to add and enhance. Fighter images are brand new to this tool. If you have an idea, like, hey guys, I love the data analyzer, but I would love if you also had this, let us know. We're coding it, we're adjusting it, we're improving, we're adding. Let us know. This is available when you unlock premium membership. So is the Prop Hunter, curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prep bets. So is the line movement tracker. This is going to give you the opening odds, current odds, win probability, and line movement for every fighter on every card. I have highlighted Carla Esparza because she's in the unique situation of opening as a favorite and probably closing as an underdog. If you were on the Carla side, we'll keep an eye on that movement because you might be able to get even better value if you wait. You're also going to get a DraftKings optimizer. This will build DraftKings lineups for you. And it's preloaded with ownership projections, scoring projections, and it has everything that you need to click a few buttons and spit out a few lineups. And you're also going to get not just me and my picks and breakdown and all those tools. You're also going to get Jacob, his picks, his breakdowns. You're going to get Artem, who's giving you Dana White Contender Series picks and bets, PFL picks and bets, and the artificial intelligence picking fights solely off of historical data. Every single thing that I just mentioned, 30 other things that I didn't mention, all included in one single $10 package. We are literally out here building the greatest suite of tools and information at the greatest value of only $10. That's an entire month. You're going to get 4 cards. We just kicked off a 9-event streak. So for the next 9 weeks, we have fights to bet on. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. Before I dig into this card, just a reminder, this is a pay-per-view. And for every pay-per-view, I film a vlog. You get to hang out for the day, see the food that we cook, the friends that come over, we watch the fights, we react, we do all the things. Part of the vlog is opening up the mail. We got some pretty wild mail last time. Sex toy gags. Some dude sent the equivalent of a junk drawer in an envelope We also get some really cool stuff, some meaningful letters. If you want to send something, we will open it, we will record it, and we will react to it. We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406 in Prosper, Texas, 75078. Let's go ahead and jump into this card. A couple of people were crapping on this card, saying dirty things about this fight card. Hey guys, this card kind of stinks. I completely disagree. Is it the most stacked powerhouse card of 10 title fights? No, of course not. There are 2 title fights. Everybody's going to complain about the co-main event, but we'll get there. But ultimately, there's a lot of good matchups on this card. There's not a single UFC debut. Every single person on this card has been in exciting fights in the past, and I'm actually looking forward to it. I will say, here's your warning shot. This is at elevation. Luckily, it's not loaded with heavyweights. I think the UFC has learned that lesson before. So everybody on this card should have decent cardio. The people who don't fight out of the first round anyway. So we should have a good night. But it is at elevation. And elevation does very weird things to round lines, and it does very weird things to fight outcomes. But let's jump in. Opening up the UFC 307 fight card, we have Alexander Hernandez taking on Austin Hubbard. And every time I break down Alexander Hernandez, I talk about how wildly talented he is and how wildly inconsistent he can be. He is very tough to break down because he's good. He's very good. He's well-rounded. He can strike. He can grapple. He's explosive. He's athletic. He's got power. He's got speed. But he struggles to put it all together at once. It's not very often that we see an Alexander Hernandez that's fast, powerful, strong in one fight. We see him dominate. We'll see him come out the next fight, get taken down over and over. He's a very inconsistent guy, but he is good, and he has all the tools, and I think this is a matchup that may allow him to be himself in there. He is coming off of that decision loss to Damon Jackson, where he was losing that fight, getting controlled, but in that third round, he had Damon on ice skates. He could have absolutely pulled off that win if he chose to continue punching and not grappling. Instead, he made the bonehead decision to grapple in a fight that he clearly had already lost 2 rounds. Made no sense, terrible decision-making, but all the talent is there. And he's taking on Austin Hubbard. Austin Hubbard's a gritty guy. He's pretty good everywhere, ton of heart, ton of power in his hands. He's mostly a striker, but he's pretty well-rounded overall. He can be taken down, but if he does get taken down, he's got a good get-up game. He's coming off that win over Michael Figlak, where he was getting pieced up early, but managed to squeak in a takedown and get it going. In that fight, if you listen to the commentary, the announcers got it right. They said, wow, Austin Hubbard's good everywhere, but he also has holes everywhere. Meaning he's got all the skills, but there's also some improvements that need to be made in every single one of those skills. Alexander Hernandez might be the most unreliable guy in the lighter weight classes of the UFC. Ton of talent. He can beat anybody on any day. You could put him against any other lightweight on this planet, and if he won that fight, I would not be surprised because he has all that talent. But he also forgets how to fight sometimes, makes weird decisions. Austin is the less talented of the 2 guys, but the more reliable of the 2 guys. I can trust Austin to not go out there and do some dumb shit, frankly. But I got to go with the better guy. I'm picking Alexander Hernandez here. There's no odds yet for this fight. I literally have no idea who the favorite is going to be. It'll probably be Alexander Hernandez, but the bookies might be like, Jesus Christ, how many times are we going to make this guy a favorite? So we'll see. If he's a dog, I'm betting on him. I'm picking him to win. I am not going to bet on him as a favorite. That just makes no sense. But I am picking him to win. And when I pick underdogs to win, sometimes I bet on them. I'll tell you this. UFC Paris, I picked a lot of underdogs. And they didn't all win. I had Chris Duncan. He did win. I had Nora Cornole. She didn't win. I had Victor Altamirano. She did not win. But if I bet the plus 3.5, which I said I was going to do, but then I chickened out on Nora and Victor, those bets would have hit. If you don't know what the plus 3.5 is, you're buying points on the judges' scorecards. If they just win 1 round on all 3 judges' scorecards, that's essentially how the math works out. That bet hits. So I might, going forward, just start betting plus 3.5s on all the underdogs that I pick, because that seems to be working. Then we have Dirty Bird taking on Court McGee. Tim Means, 33-16. Court McGee, 21-13. 2 guys that have a world of experience. 2 guys that are battle tested. They've been through it. 2 guys that are old as hell in fight years because they have been through absolute hell and back in these fights. But these are 2 gritty, grindy guys that are fun to watch. We got Tim Means, high volume striker. He can work in a takedown if he needs to. He's got that tricky karate style, but we're going to break down Wonder Boy. And Wonder Boy is the only person that can have any meaningful success with that karate style. He switches stances. It's hard to put him in a single category because he has more than one path to victory. He is well-rounded. He is very active. He's got that frustrating style, but he is 40 years old, 4-0, and he is definitely slowing down. But as long as his body holds up, he'll be there. He'll be in the fight. He will never mentally quit on himself. His jaw might quit on him. His brain smacking into the sides might quit on him, but he will not actively choose to quit. And on the other side of that cage is Court McGee, and he is of the exact same mindset. There's no quit in Court McGee either, but he is also aging. He is also slowing down. A battle-tested veteran who has been around forever. He's an old school guy. He's incredibly tough. He's pretty durable. Again, he's getting old, so that durability is slowing down a little bit. Pretty durable. Solid grappling, solid striking. He never quits. He's good everywhere, great nowhere, not an athlete. But he works very hard, and he just grinds. The last few years, as he's been aging, he's gone from striker to grappler. He has 10 takedowns and 25 minutes of control time in his last 5 fights. He is coming off that decision loss to Alex Morono, where he did steal around with a decent striking exchange late. And this is a wild. The odds in this fight are absolutely wild. Tim Means is a 2-1 favorite. Tell me how that's possible. Tell me how that's possible. Don't tell me, oh, because Court McGee's old. Tim Means is older. Don't tell me, oh, well, Court McGee, he's been getting finished a little bit. In their last fight, Court McGee wasn't the one of these two that got finished. So tell me how Tim Means is a 2-1 favorite in a fight that should be 50-50. Both of them are old as hell. Both of them are worn down. Both of them are at the ends of their careers. This is a 50-50 fight at best. I'm leaning Court. Court is going to be the pick. I think his wrestling might be the difference here. He can move forward. He can pressure with a takedown. He can steal minutes of this fight. His striking looks solid in his last fight, so I imagine he can hang on the feet as well. Obviously, that weirdo in-and-out karate style could give him some trouble, but I don't think so. Court McGee has been around so long. He's not going to be faster. He's not going to be more athletic, but he is gritty. He will stay in your face. He will continue to move forward, and I think he can grind out a win here. So I threw a quarter of a unit on him at plus 195. He is a 2-1 underdog in a fight that should be 50-50. Court McGee is the pick, and I've got that little bet going. Let me know. Listen, I've been doing this a little while now, 3 years. I've been watching fights my entire life. I've seen every single UFC ever the day it aired. My cousin had a D-scrambler. Back in the day, UFC pay-per-views and porn and everything else used to be scrambled across the screen, like squiggly lines, and you could hear it, but you couldn't see it. And my cousin had a D-scrambler, so we could see it. So I've been watching these fights since I was a little kid. I've seen every single event ever. I started doing the camera YouTube stuff, for 3 years. So I know the reactions that I get on some of my takes. But this can't be one of the takes that I'm going to get ripped into for, right? This cannot be one saying that Tim Means shouldn't be a favorite. There's no way I'm going to get a bunch of angry comments. That's how you sound. This is a 50-50 fight. And I'm already picking the underdog, so I bet on him. And just a reminder, when I break down fights, I don't look at the odds until I've already made my pick. I break down the fights, I do the tapes, all that stuff. Then I pick my fighter, then I look at the odds, and then I do my final little write-up here. I picked Court McGee and was shocked to see those odds. Then we have a rebooked fight. We got Ovince St. Preux taking on Ryan Spann. This fight was supposed to happen 3 weeks ago. Then Ovince had to pull out. He was sick. That's all they told us. Sick. There was no other context or information. And now we're running it back. And they said, you know what? Do it at elevation. Do it there. That'll get you. And I don't know if the elevation changes my mind at all here, because this fight wasn't going to go the distance no matter what. So I don't necessarily think 4 minutes of fighting at a mountain is different than 4 minutes of fighting in Las Vegas. I think a couple of minutes is a couple of minutes, and that's what we're probably going to end up with here. If anything, if you were on the Ovince St. Preux side, you thought he would weather an early storm and Ryan's not durable. Well, then that's probably even more true now. If Ryan's a first-round guy, he'll be even more of a first-round guy at elevation. But if you were on the Ryan Spann side already, you didn't expect him to win a decision. So that piece doesn't matter. So there's a little food for thought there. But it's an interesting matchup nonetheless. We got Ovince St. Preux, talented guy. He's got all the tools, but he's kind of screwed his career up, moving up to heavyweight. Short notice fights, then back down to light heavyweight. sometimes will just stare at you and not let his hands go. But he does have talent. He does have ability. He's a powerful striker. He's fast. He's athletic. He's strong. He's big. He's all of those things. But sometimes he's a little too hesitant. He's coming off that upset win over Kennedy and Chukwu, where neither guy looked phenomenal, but given his advanced age, Ovince St. Preux looked incredible against a younger guy that was a minus 550 favorite, was supposed to blow right through him. And he's taking on Ryan Spann. Ryan Spann's massive, 6'5" at this weight class. A ridiculous reach. He moves in with his 18 stoppages of his 21 wins. And he just goes after it. It's not all power, though. It's not all just one-punch knockout or bust. He has a whole bunch of submissions on that record as well. And it's not because he's shooting takedowns. It's because he's opportunistic. If he ends up in a weird scramble, he will go after that neck. If you end up in a wild exchange, he's going to bomb away and then immediately look to get that submission. Ryan Spann, one of the most dangerous guys at this weight class. He is coming off, though, his third loss in a row. This time it was the first Bogdan Guskov. I can't imagine that after this fight, both of these guys are still on the roster, right? One of them is either retired or done. Ryan Spann is much younger, 8 years younger than Ovince St. Preux. And for the most part, that does matter. The higher up in weight class you get, it doesn't matter as much. Ryan Spann's the far more dangerous guy of the two. Ovince St. Preux, not necessarily the more well-rounded, because Ryan Spann's very well-rounded, but certainly the more even-keel guy. Ovince St. Preux is not a first-rounder bust guy. Ryan Spann is a first-rounder bust guy. I'm going to pick Ryan Spann here. I do think the age matters. I think the danger matters. I'm not betting on this fight. And the elevation, short notice, all those things does sort of mess with what's going on here. Because part of me wants to be like, hammer the under 1.5 round line. Hammer it. But these guys might just stare at each other. And if you watch my UFC Paris recap, I did a whole rant about Kutalaba versus Ivan Erslan going to a decision. All the theories were that these gloves, nobody's knocking each other out anymore because of the gloves. Dude, that might be the case. How the hell is Ivan Kutalaba going to split decisions? It's got to be the gloves. Either way, in all seriousness, though, I'm not touching anything about this fight. You cannot trust the round line here. You can't. Under 1.5 makes all the sense in the world until both of them are sucking wind because it's kind of short notice and at elevation. And they're just like, for 15 minutes. So we're going to leave this one alone. I'm going to pick Ryan Spann. But if you're a premium member, you go to the website, he is not in my most confident pick list. Then we have Wonderboy taking on Joaquin Buckley. Wonderboy talked about this week, he's on the prelims. Hey, I'm used to being on the main cards. They threw me on the prelims. I think it's a punishment. And he feels that he is still being punished for last year when he refused to fight Michel Pereira after Michel Pereira missed weight. First of all, Wonderboy was not wrong in that situation. And it's weird because he became the villain. People ran down his throat for not fighting his opponent who missed weight by like 5 pounds or something absurd. The UFC refused to pay him, which they legally didn't have to. The fans jumped down his throat. Oh, you're a fighter. Just step up. You're a fighter. I honestly disagree. He did his part. He did all the right things. How is he villainized? And now Michel Pereira is getting fight night main event fights. So he feels he was punished when they gave him Shavkat Rakhmonov, which that was 100% a punishment. But at the same time, you got to fight who they give you. If you can't beat that guy, that's on you. And now being on the prelims, he feels he's being punished as well. Well, there's two people in this fight. They're both being punished. Joaquin is being punished for somehow going from exciting and fun to one of the most unlikable guys in the division. And Wonderboy's being punished for being a professional, I guess. Well, let's go ahead and break it down. We got Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. He's one of my favorite fighters. He's probably one of your favorite fighters. I actually have bought his hair dye. If you don't know, he's a model. Well, first of all, look at him. You could figure that out. He's a model for hair dye. And he looks great on the cover of that box. I've got the display right here in my office. He's got that karate style. Him and Lyoto Machida are the only two people in the history of the UFC that have had actual high-level success with that karate style. And what makes Wonderboy unique is, yes, his hands are low and he's bouncing in and out, but you can see how less he's hit than most people. 3.03 significant strikes absorbed per minute. And this is a guy who has fought for the title fight twice. This is a guy who has been in the UFC for 10 plus years. He has a very long history of very high-level fights, and he is still barely hit. And that's because he moves in and out just spectacularly. What he does a phenomenal job of is if you come rushing in chaotically, one quick step, boom, blast you right in the face. He dismantled Kevin Holland in that fight because Kevin would come rushing in, and Kevin's a laser pinpoint accuracy striker. But he couldn't deal with Stephen Thompson's in and out, and Stephen Thompson had some success. Unfortunately, that win over Kevin Holland didn't last much longer because his next fight out, he fought Shavkat Rakhmonov, where he did manage to stuff 4 takedowns, but ultimately succumbed to the grappling and the danger that Shavkat brings. But I will say, Stephen Thompson's 3 losses in his last 4 years were only to grapplers. He hasn't been outstruck in a fight in a very, very, very long time. And this is going to be an interesting one because he's taking on Joaquin Buckley. Joaquin Buckley is insanely fast, insanely powerful, lots of just giant movement in and out. He has got good forward pressure. He cuts angles pretty well. We all know he has power, but he's done a good job maturing. He's done a good job moving from middleweight to welterweight, not chasing power. It's there, but it's not the only thing he's looking for. He's not Joe Anderson Brito just closing his eyes, bombing away. Great movement in and out, super fast, great hands. And now we've seen some wrestling. He's coming off that win over Nursultan Ruzeboyev, where he had a little bit of trouble with Nursultan's reach, but that dude is probably the tallest guy at welterweight right now. So Joaquin had to lean on the wrestling, and that's just a good look. The fact that he's well-rounded enough to have wild, explosive Jordan Burroughs-style takedowns. And before you hit the comments, some angry nonsense talking about he's not good. Of course he's not as good as Jordan Burroughs. Jordan Burroughs is one of the greatest American wrestlers that's ever walked the face of the earth. But Jordan Burroughs is known for his blast double. He lowers his level, shoots, his head hits your chest, and he sprints right through you. And that's essentially what Joaquin Buckley was doing. He would lower his level and run right through you. Just run. Lightning fast. His feet didn't stop moving. He would just run right through you. And that's what made his takedowns look so good. And those are very hard takedowns to defend. Defending against the cage, you can widen your base and stuff the head and work in the arm. Defending in the middle of the octagon, if it's a single, all right, we're going to hop on that leg. We're going to lower our base. We're going to spread the head out. But defending a blast double against somebody whose feet don't stop moving, if you don't instantly react, you're going to have a little bit of trouble. 41-year-old Stephen Thompson, I don't see him in getting it done here. I think Joaquin Buckley sprints right through him on the ground if he needs to. I think Joaquin Buckley can have some success on the feet. He is so fast, so powerful. What could also happen, though, is that Joaquin Buckley comes charging in crazy. Stephen Wonderboy Thompson steps off, bang, cracks him. But it'll just take a few of those before Buckley's like, I'm done here, shooting takedowns. Because you can take down Wonderboy. It is unfortunate that he has been in the UFC for this long. And while, of course, he has defended takedowns, he defended 4 of Shavkat's, he hasn't quite gotten the takedown defense that we would love to see. If he had Jose Aldo's takedown defense, and I'm not being facetious, facetious means sarcastic for some of you. If Wonderboy Thompson had Jose Aldo's takedown defense, he would have been a champion. I mean, that's a 100. I am 100% positive of that. But he doesn't. So there's a very clear path to victory. And I think Joaquin Buckley exploits that. I think he does wrestle more than we expect him to. And I think he wins this fight because of wrestling. But I got to say, man, this is Joaquin Buckley. This is his opportunity to make up to the fans the catastrophe that has been the last 6 months for him. This is a guy that was pretty well liked. Always entertaining. Never did any dumb shit. And then all of a sudden he goes to welterweight, has some success, starts saying the dumbest things. You know why this fight is happening right now? Because he was talking shit about Wonderboy. Literally talking shit, calling him out, saying he's fake, all these things. Wonderboy has to be the most universally well-liked guy in this sport. He has to be. He has to be. Nobody has ever said a bad thing about the guy. He's all smiles. He's nice. He's caring. Any interaction you've ever seen, whether it was planned or it was just like somebody recording him in the background, has been a positive, upbeat, smile-filled interaction. And Joaquin Buckley's talking shit about this guy. I have never seen somebody try so hard to not have fans in my entire life. But here we are. Hopefully, if Joaquin Buckley wins, he gets on that microphone, he doesn't call out Conor or do some ridiculous bullshit. Just thank everybody. And tell Wonderboy he's a great guy and phenomenal looking. Then we have former world champion taking on Carla Esparza. Taking on Tecia Torres. I believe both of these women are retiring after this fight. I'm positive Carla Esparza is. She's been very clear. One more fight and then I'm done. She got married. She had a baby. She's been gone for 2 full years. She's coming back. Just wants to prove to herself, probably, I can still do this. Tecia Torres just did that. Tecia Torres had a baby, got married, came back, and actually looked really good. So I don't know if Tecia's retiring. I'm sure you guys will let me know in the comments, but I do know Carla is retiring after this fight, and that's never a great look. But this is an interesting matchup. Carla Esparza is making this walk for the final time. She is an accomplished former champion. Carla Esparza deserves the credit. She deserves her flowers. Carla Esparza was the first ever champion at this weight class and was just the champion in her last fight. She's a good wrestler. She just moves forward. She has 45 takedowns in 15 UFC fights. No questions as to what she's going to do. She'll strike for as little as possible, shoot takedowns. She'll shoot under a jab. She'll run you up against the cage. And she will do everything she can to take you down. She is coming back after 2 years away. Her last fight was when she lost her title to Weili Zhang. She's taken on Tecia Torres, now Tecia Pennington. She's good everywhere, nice boxing. She'll stay in your face, good grappler, good wrestling, insane cardio. Her only losses since 2017 were decisions to some of the top women on the planet, including a sketchy one in her last fight against Tabitha Ricci. In that fight, she had come back after her own 2-year layoff and after having a kid of her own. But she pressured Tabitha. She stayed forward. She stayed in her face, but she did struggle with Tabitha's size and strength. Tabitha spent a lot of time just leaning on Tecia against the cage. And you could argue that Carla could do the same thing here. You could say, well, listen, Carla's a much better wrestler. And we have seen Tecia struggle with wrestlers. I just think the 2-year layoff is going to be a little too much. And I get it. I get it. Carla Esparza is very good. I have picked her to win in most of her fights because you guys know I favor wrestlers. But I think Tecia looked so good in her last fight. And I think Carla's just going to be a little rusty, a little slow to get those takedowns in. And all it takes is Tecia to defend a few of them. And you guys have seen it. The earlier the takedowns, the more success you have. Look what just happened with Brendan Allen in the co-main event. First takedown he shot, he got it, he looked phenomenal, beat the shit out of Nasruddin Imavov in that co-main. And then the next takedown got stuffed. And then the next one got stuffed. And it got more and more embarrassing as that fight went on. This could look similar. Carla could get an early takedown. But Tecia is not going to slow down. We're at elevation. Tecia fought recently. Tecia lives at elevation. She's built for this atmosphere. She's built for a long, busy fight. So even if she gets taken down early, I think she starts defending late. Carla's just diving at legs, and I think the gap widens and widens and widens, and Tecia starts to run away with it in the later rounds. Over 2.5 here should be the safest bet on this entire card, frankly. And Ticia's the pick. She's going to be the pick here. I think she gets it done, but hopefully, listen, when Michelle Waterson retired at UFC 303, they had a whole montage ready to go. And I don't know why. Like, good for Michelle Waterson. She put her body on the line for us. She was very entertaining for us for years. So I appreciate that the UFC did that. I wish they did that with every fighter that we knew was retiring. And many times a fighter just retires on the spot or retires a couple weeks or a month after their fight, so we didn't really have enough time to prepare for them to retire. When Robbie Lawler retired, I mean, the montage they did, people were crying in that arena. But he was a former world champion, and we knew he was retiring. If Michelle Waterson got a send-off with a montage ready to go, Carla Esparza needs the same. Hopefully she gets a full former world champion 2 times. You know how hard it is to win your belt twice? She was the champion in 2014, the first ever champion at this weight class. And then in 2022, she won her belt back. She lost it along the way of that 8-year span, lost the belt, and then won it back. I don't think I can name another fighter that has ever done that. Weili, close, but Weili did it in like a 2-year period, not an 8-year period. I can't think of another fighter that over 8 years had the belt, lost the belt, worked their way back up, and then won the belt again. So Carla Esparza deserves her video montage send-off, and I hope she gets it. Then we have what should be a pretty exciting fight. We have Ihor Potieria taking on Cesar Almeida. This should be all gas, no brakes, striker versus striker. I don't expect any takedowns to be attempted here, and I don't expect this fight to go to a decision. We got Ihor Potieria. He is a very good striker. He's got a loose style, solid power, good accuracy, but he's very, very hittable. He keeps his hands low. He relies on his chin, but his chin isn't always there to back him up. His takedown defense is not very good, but he is a pretty good job hurting you on the way in. He'll hit you up. There's an uppercut waiting. He'll blast you in the head on his way down. He's very dangerous, but also insanely finishable. He's coming off that wild loss to Michel Pereira. He got ragdolled in that fight, and then Michel Pereira was standing over him and just did a flip. Just whoop, flip, and just like sat on his face, just landed on him. That was an insane fight. He's taking on Cesar Almeida. This guy is also a big-time professional kickboxer. He has had success at the highest levels of kickboxing, including beating Alex Pereira. He lost to Alex twice, but he beat him once. He does everything that you would expect a high-level kickboxer to do. Clean combinations, big power. He works in really well. He's very dangerous every second of the fight. If this guy is on the feet, he's going to give you some trouble. Takedown defense in the middle of the cage doesn't exist. Against the cage, it's excellent. If he is taken down, he does a nice job scooting all the way to the cage and working his way back up. He is coming off that loss to Roman Kopylov, where he had so much success striking that Roman had to go to the wrestling. And we all know how good of a striker Roman is, and Cesar was piecing him up. Striker versus striker, Cesar's the better striker. It is literally that simple. If Ihor even had a sliver of MMA, meaning if he wasn't just straight up a kickboxer with MMA gloves on, if this guy mixed in a takedown every now and then, if Ihor was in here working on other skills, I would consider his side. But he doesn't. He's got 5 times the amount of experience. Literally, 5 times the amount of experience in fistfights. But he's still just a striker at the end of the day. Cesar Almeida is the better striker. I do wish he was a little more affordable. Right now, he's minus 400. And while that should hit, sometimes you just want a little bit of a discount. Then we have Marina Rodriguez taking on Iasmin Lucindo in the featured prelim of the evening. This fight matters for the division. It's not the most important fight for the division, but it matters. Marina Rodriguez is a staple, has been around forever. Iasmin Lucindo working her way up, trying to get ranked, trying to get her way out of the thicket of this middle of the pack group that they've got going on at women's strawweight. Marina Rodriguez, 17-4. She has 21 fights in her career. She's been around for a little bit. She's been in the UFC for a majority of that career, but she is older. She's 37. She's definitely at the tail end. She's a good boxer. She's got speed. She's got power. She does have raw one-punch knockout power, but her takedown defense is just okay. She is tall for this weight class, and she does use that length pretty well to fight technical and stay on the outside. Overall, Marina Rodriguez is a pretty complete fighter. Well-rounded fighter who can grind out a win or sneak in a finish. She is coming off that close loss to Jessica Andrade, where she was taken down. She gave up 4 minutes of control time. Taking on the much younger Iasmin Lucindo. She's a grappler. She's going to use her speed. She's going to use her power to clinch you up, drag you to the ground. Once you're on the ground, good top pressure where she uses strikes to loosen you up before transitioning to submissions. Her striking is just okay. She's really just waiting for you to throw something, and then she'll counter and shoot a takedown. Or counter and rush you against the cage so she can grind from there. She is coming off that decision win over Karolina Kowalkiewicz, where she had 2 takedowns and doubled the strikes. Marina's the better fighter. She's just the more well-rounded, better fighter here. But that subpar takedown defense and the weak get-up game is likely going to be a problem for her. If she couldn't use footwork to keep Jessica Andrade at bay, I don't think she's going to be able to use it here. Jessica Andrade is not technical. She's just a bully. Iasmin Lucindo is a little more of the same, but younger. A little cleaner. So I think Marina Rodriguez loses this fight as well. I think Iasmin Lucindo can come forward, avoid any of the power in the hands, get her to the cage, get her to the ground, and we'd probably have a grindy 15-minute type fight here with Iasmin Lucindo getting it done. But if you're on the Iasmin side, you need to trust her cardio. She's going to win grinding. She is not going to win a technical striking match. So she needs to grind forward. She needs to get the takedowns. And you need to trust her cardio for that. And we are at elevation. So while I am on the Iasmin Lucindo side, and if this was not at elevation, I probably would bet on her. The odds are not crazy. But the fact that I need her to be in phenomenal shape and grind for 15 minutes, because I know Marina can, does worry me a bit. So no bet here. Probably not going to touch the round line either. And if you got slapped at UFC Paris and you need a couple of bucks, we'll send you $50. The only thing you need to do is go to WeWantPicks.com/bets. Sign up with any one of our affiliate partners using the links, make a deposit, and we send you $50 as a thank you. It's affiliate marketing. You're going to use the link. You'll make a new account. You'll make a deposit. They're going to pay me, and I'm going to slice off $50 and give it right back to you. That's WeWantPicks.com/bets. If you want to use that money to become a premium member, well, that might be the best way you've ever spent money in your life. Premium membership's only $10 for an entire month. You're going to get access to all the picks, the bets, the round line leans, artificial intelligence, and the tools. One of those tools is the data analyzer. This is the next version of the data analyzer. It is 10 times faster than it was. We now have fighter images, the arena, and more. It has data all the way out for UFC 309. I got messages from people the other day saying, hey, man, I like to do my research in the future. And I said, hey, man, go to the data analyzer. We've got fights all the way clean through November in here. Every single fighter on every single one of those cards, everything that you need. You can watch the tape, do the tape study. You can filter out the strikes and the takedowns and everything else to find your prop bets. All the research that you ever want to do can be done with this one single tool. And you can unlock it at WeWantPicks.com. Just click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 for an entire month. You're going to get this pay-per-view and then 3 other cards. And I believe UFC 308 fits in that window. I probably should have looked that up before recording this video. UFC 308 is October 26th, and we are past September 26th. So you're going to get 2 pay-per-views if you sign up right now. And don't forget, it's vlog week. If you want to send some mail for us to open, We Want Picks, P.O. Box 406, Prosper, Texas, 75078. And finally, before we break down this main card, the main event is Khalil Rountree and Alex Pereira. The whole world was upside down when they announced Khalil Rountree. People were pissed that Khalil Rountree was getting a title shot. So I did a whole video specifically to, does Khalil deserve a title shot? And how he even ended up here. So if you want to expand on that topic a little more, it's a couple of minute video. And I get into detail, and it does trigger quite a few of you. Let's go ahead and break down this main card. And opening up the UFC 307 main card, we have Roman Dolidze taking on Kevin Holland. I opened up this entire video by saying Alex Pereira is the most active fighter in the UFC roster. The second most active fighter on the UFC roster is Kevin Holland. And to Kevin's credit, he's been doing it for a little longer than Alex Pereira. Kevin Holland fights, I think, on average every 2 months or something to that effect. He is not afraid of a fist fight. He is not afraid of a fist fight at multiple weight classes. Kevin Holland is always exciting, but this isn't going to be an easy fight. He's taking on Roman Dolidze. Roman Dolidze is a world champion grappler. Not just a good grappler, not just, a black belt, a world champion grappler. He has showcased those skills more than one time in the octagon. The problem is, though, you don't know when he's actually going to use the grappling skills because he also has power in his hands. And he's a tough guy. So he is willing to just stand in front of people and rock 'em, sock 'em robots until the fight is over. Roman Dolidze can beat you on the ground. He can beat you on the feet, but he does have some questionable cardio that tends to fade later. He is coming off that win over Anthony Smith where he had the striking volume, but only 1 takedown. And he didn't need to shoot a bunch of takedowns, but when I've got a guy as good of a grappler as him, I want to see Nurmagomedov style wrestling because I want to be able to trust your game plan. And he's probably going to need those takedowns here because he's fighting Kevin Holland. Kevin Holland is a very accurate striker. Because he is so accurate and so fast, he also has a ton of power. He can struggle with takedown defense. There's a period in his career where he couldn't even look at somebody without being taken down. He seems to have gotten a little bit better at that. But even if you did take him down, you weren't completely out of the water because Kevin Holland is also a good grappler. In fact, he's coming off that win over Mikhail Oleksichuk, where despite it being a controversial finish, the submission was impressive, and he showed Mikhail that there are levels to jiu-jitsu. And where Kevin showed Mikhail there's levels to jiu-jitsu, Roman Dolidze would absolutely school and show Kevin that there are levels to jiu-jitsu. Their BJJ is not even close. It's not even close. Who's better on the ground, what jiu-jitsu is going to win, and all that. The problem is I can't trust that Roman Dolidze is going to take down. I can't trust he's going to wrestle. I can't trust he's going to use jiu-jitsu. I can't trust Roman Dolidze's game plan. He might just stay on his feet for the first 5 minutes, then get tired. And then by then, he's too tired to wrestle. And that is honestly a very likely outcome. So then he's just getting dotted up on his feet. I am going to pick Roman Dolidze here because the path to victory is just so obvious. And I have to assume that he doesn't have an extra chromosome. But it is not crazy if Roman Dolidze went out there, attempted 0 takedowns, and lost a decision because Kevin Holland's just the better striker. That's not a crazy outcome. Hopefully that's not what happens because I am picking Roman and I will be betting on Roman as well. The tried and true bet on Roman Dolidze that I think I have placed on every single Roman Dolidze fight is win inside the distance, decision, no action. And all that means is if Roman Dolidze finishes Kevin Holland, you get paid, baby. And if he loses a decision, you get a refund. He is insanely tough and he is not a quitter. So when he loses, it's decisions. And when he wins, could be a decision. You get a full refund if that happens. Or look what he did to Jack Hermanson. Look what he did to Phil Haas. Look what he did to Chris Daukaus. Kyle Daukaus. Roman Dolidze is wildly dangerous. And it's not crazy to think that he could finish Kevin Holland here. If he gets a takedown, which should be easy, and then on the ground, levels above. Roman Dolidze is going to be the pick. Cardio at elevation is obviously very scary, which is why I'm not betting money line, and I'm betting inside the distance decision, no action. If you're not a premium member, become one. As soon as I place that bet or any other bet, it will pop up not only on the website, but you'll get an alert in the Discord as well. Those prop bets should start dropping Monday at some time, and we attack those very, very quickly. Then we have Kayla Harrison, former Olympic judo gold medalist, taking on Ketlen Vieira. And this will be an interesting fight because if Kayla makes this fight look as easy as she made her last fight look, well, all of a sudden we got to be talking about Kayla fighting for a title. And yeah, it's only her second UFC fight, but she's a very accomplished fighter who has had a pretty long career outside of the UFC. Kayla Harrison is the most accomplished judo practitioner in American history. There's not a single American, male or female, that has the accomplishments that she has. You can be like, oh, Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey was a bronze medalist in the Olympics. Not only is Kayla Harrison a gold medalist, she's a two-time Olympic gold medalist and multiple-time world champion. She's been an American top team for years, which means she's only added tools to that arsenal. Her striking continues to improve. She's absolutely tremendous physically. She is rock solid. Her striking is not great, but it is improving, and it is powerful. She's coming off that destruction of Holly Holm at UFC 300. She's taking on Ketlen Vieira. Ketlen Vieira is also large and strong. She's a come-forward striker, solid takedowns, good top work. She likes to march forward, throw heavy. She looks to tie you up and then rip you to the ground, maybe uchimata you if she ends up with an overhook. On top, she keeps control. She pressures. She pounds away. She's not incredibly fast. She's not incredibly athletic, but she is big. She is strong, and she is fundamentally sound. She's coming off that decision win over Pani Khanzad, where she threw very few strikes, but did control the wrestling. And Ketlen's coming back after a full year away. She was supposed to fight back in January, but she pulled out. And there's no better way to come back to the UFC than to be getting tossed by an Olympic gold medalist. I think Kayla dominates here. She's absolutely the pick. Ketlen is good, but Ketlen relies on being big and being strong and just wants to bully. She's not bullying Kayla. Look at the arms. She's not bullying Kayla Harrison. Kayla Harrison will toss her on her ass if they tie up for any meaningful amount of time. And yeah, if Ketlen was a distant striker and just pop, 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 and stayed on the outside the whole time, maybe. But that's not how Ketlen fights. She moves forward, she closes distance, she tries to grind you to the ground. That game plan only works against her. Kayla Harrison is absolutely the pick. And let's see what the round lines are. We might be able to get some sneaky value in under 2.5. They might just make this a 2.5 round line, juice the over because it's women, and then the under might be chef's kiss. Then we have Jose Aldo. Geriatric. Jose Aldo taking on Mario Batista. And I love Jose Aldo. I've been a diehard Jose Aldo fan for a very long time. In fact, the very first fight Jacob and I ever watched together was Jose Aldo and Conor McGregor. The very first fight. Jacob and I were living in Florida at the time. I'm walking the dog. He's walking the dog. We just started chatting up. You see somebody every single day. You just start talking. I didn't know who he was. He didn't know who I was. Started talking. I don't even know how we started talking about fights. We started talking about fights. And I said, oh, this weekend is a pretty big pay-per-view. And I didn't know anybody in that neighborhood yet. So I said, if you want to come over and watch fights, he's like, oh, I've heard of Conor McGregor. So he came over. I went on and on about Jose Aldo's going to beat the shit out of Conor McGregor. Conor McGregor's good, but Jose Aldo, oh, this guy's phenomenal. Oh, you have no idea how good Jose Aldo is. And then obviously we all know that that fight ended very, very quickly with Jose flat on the canvas. So that was Jacob's introduction to Big Ange and fist fight. So I do love Jose Aldo. And I open this by saying he's geriatric. This statistic on this chart says 38 years old. I promise you, with every meaningful thing in my life, he is not 38 years old. He is well past 40. Jose Aldo, I've heard this directly from, I was in a room with Jose Aldo, with his friends. I'm not going to name names. With his friends who speak English. And then after we were hanging out, whatever, we were talking. And this person was like, he's not. Because he was at the time named one of the best 30 fighters under 30 years old. And this person was like, he's not 30. And basically, he grew up in the favelas. You don't know what the favelas are. It's a very impoverished area of Brazil. There's no paperwork. There's no birth certificate. So then when he was old enough and needed to get paperwork to travel and to do things, he literally just went to the town hall or the equivalent, and they're like, how old are you? And he's like, I'm this old. Just made up a year. And that's why now, documented, he's 38 years old. He's much older than that. And that long rant was just for informational purposes. Because eventually that age is going to catch up to him. He looked pretty good in his last fight. If you don't know who Jose Aldo is, you should. He's one of the greatest 145-pounders of all time, and he's also had wild success at 135 pounds. He reminded us how good he was when he came out of retirement earlier this year and beat Jonathan Martinez. He's the one who made leg kicks popular. And actually, Marco Hua made leg kicks popular when UFC had no gloves or rules. But the modern era of MMA, Jose Aldo brought leg kicks back and made it popular. He finished Uriah Faber with leg kicks only. Just chopped those legs down, and Uriah was literally bouncing around. He's lightning fast. He has the best takedown defense anybody has ever seen. Him and BJ Penn have the two best takedown defenses in history, and Jose Aldo's is the best. His last loss was to Merab, the current champion, Merab Davishvili, where he defended something absurd like 38 takedowns. Didn't get taken down not one single time. Jose Aldo is that guy. The problem is he's old as shit and he's going to be tested. His age will be tested here because Mario Batista is just going to move forward. He is a high volume striker. You can see those stats there. 5.69 significant strikes landed per minute. He has no problem walking through fire. He will just continue to move forward, set a pace, plot, be light on his feet. He is steadily evolving. In his last few fights, he's been doing quite well. He's on a 6-fight win streak, and now he's working in 12 takedowns in those last 6 fights. He's coming off that one-sided win over Ricky Simón where he looked absolutely phenomenal moving forward and landing in combinations. Eventually, Jose Aldo has to look old. He's literally just a few years away from being able to get an AARP card. If you watch his last fight, he didn't look old in his last fight. But I think that had less to do with Jose and more to do with Jonathan Martinez just being gun-shy. I'm fighting my idol in Brazil, the king of Rio in Rio. And he just didn't let his hands go, didn't do what he was supposed to do. And so Jose took advantage of that. I'm going to be picking Mario Batista here. And I'm not, I love Jose. I want Jose to win. I want Jose to beat Mario Batista and then fight for the title. And frankly, I think he can beat a good amount of these guys. That Merab fight, you could argue, if that fight was in Las Vegas, you could argue he won that fight. Because Vegas hates wrestlers and Merab got 0 takedowns whatsoever. I will be picking Mario Batista. I think the forward pressure is going to be too much. I think he's going to be a little too fast, a little too forward pressure. And Jose, he has to slow down eventually, right? Like he has to. And this might be the fight. So I'm picking Mario Batista, but I will be very, very much rooting for Jose Aldo. Then we have the co-main event of the evening. We have Raquel Pennington defending her belt against Juliana Pena. And listen. Before you shit on this fight, it's a trash fight. Oh my God, the modern era of UFC champions, blah, blah, blah. I get it. Raquel Pennington is one of the most boring fighters we have ever seen ever. I get it. But Juliana Pena is not boring. She won't shut the hell up, but she's not boring. And the good news is, no matter who wins this fight, the good news, one of these women we're done with. If Raquel Pennington loses, we do not need 25-minute lean on the cage title defenses anymore. Thank God, we're done with that. But also, if Raquel Pennington wins, we don't have to hear Juliana Pena just blah, 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 I'm the best. Blah, blah. We don't have to hear that crap anymore. So either way, we are done with either a boring fighter or an annoying gabber. And I wish we could put them together. Because Raquel Pennington is a very skilled fighter, just not exciting. Juliana Pena is an exciting fighter, but the trash talk is just brutal. I don't mind trash talk. It's just not good. And she doesn't say anything other than like, I'm the best that's ever. Like delusional Sean O'Malley type shit. Just delusional. And if you don't know, Juliana Pena is the former world champion. She beat Amanda Nunes. She beat the greatest fighter of all time, or certainly the greatest female fighter of all time. But she got the ass kicked off of her body. And then Amanda slowed down and she just took advantage of an unprepared Amanda Nunes. When they rematched and Amanda was prepared, Juliana Pena got stomped into oblivion. So it's like, if that wasn't enough of a reality check for you and your ego, I don't know what is. Juliana Pena is coming back after 2 years away and the severe beating to fight for the title again. Style-wise, she is good. She's pretty well-rounded. She's solid everywhere. She doesn't have like incredible, crisp, clean skills, but she makes up for it with come forward, dirty pressure. She's got an underdog style where she's always grinding, always in your face, bringing the fight to you. Her sloppiness frustrates people. They're thinking they're getting a clean fight, and she's just coming in like a whirling dervish of chaos. But Juliana Pena is good, and she can win this fight. But I don't think she does, because she's fighting Raquel Pennington. Raquel Pennington just moves forward, slow and steady, slows down the pace. Her striking is nice and technical, but she wants to lean you up against the cage, hold you there, remove any tools you may have, and grind, and grind, and grind, and grind. Raquel Pennington is the definition of a grinder. And not that exciting kind, just literally hold you against the cage and keep you there. She doesn't even drag you to the ground. If you look at her control time to takedown ratio, it's way out of whack because the control time's through the roof because she's just literally leaning on you against the cage. And the takedowns, they're not really there. And honestly, if you're trying to build a winning resume, that's not a terrible game plan. You are far safer holding somebody against the cage than you are on the ground. There's no getting swept. There's no triangle. There's no armbar. So yeah, it's boring as shit. It's the most unflattering style to watch. But Raquel Pennington is good, and I think she grinds her way to a win, especially over somebody coming off a 2-year layoff. Layoffs are not great in this sport. Very few people can come back after long layoffs and look good. I don't think Juliana Pena is going to be one of them. Raquel Pennington is the pick, and I'm fairly confident that she gets it done with that boring style. She's durable on her side. She's too skilled to get caught in some dumb shit. She will be prepared. She lives at elevation. The only thing that could really fluke this out is if Tecia Pennington, her wife, gets smoked on the prelims, and that just messes with her psyche and she comes out here not ready to go. That absolutely could be a thing. But I think Raquel Pennington dominates Juliana Pena. Not in a fun way. In a cage control way. And then we have the main event of the evening. The most exciting guy on the UFC's roster. Potentially the greatest walkout in the history of the UFC. Alex Pereira. He's taking on Khalil Rountree. And you guys threw a temper tantrum. You guys, I'm speaking to the collective MMA community and media, threw a full-blown temper tantrum. Who is Khalil Rountree to get a title shot? How does Khalil Rountree step into a title shot? Khalil Rountree's on a 5-fight win streak. He's on the longest win streak in the top 5 of this division. Don't say Ankalaev, because he's not on a 5-fight win streak. Ankalaev also fought for a belt and lost, or certainly didn't win. Then had a no contest with Johnny Walker. Like, Ankalaev did not rattle off 5 wins in a row. Khalil Rountree did rattle off 5 wins in a row. 4 of them by stoppage. Oh, he knocked out a chinny Anthony Smith. Okay, well, that's who they put in front of him, and he knocked him out. They put Johnny Walker in front of Ankalaev, and he couldn't finish him the first time. So Khalil Rountree is in this fight, and frankly, I think he deserves it. And if you think he sucks, that's fine. That says more about the division than anything. We got Alex Pereira defending his belt. He's defending his belt for the 3rd time this year, but this is his 4th fight this year. He fought for the belt and then defended it 3 times. 2 of them against Yuri Prochazka. 1 of them against Jamal Hill, and now against Khalil Rountree. And it's funny because on our live stream the other day, Jacob said it doesn't feel like Alex Pereira is fighting this week. And he's right, it doesn't feel like it. And it's crazy because Alex Pereira is probably the UFC's biggest draw right now. Who's a bigger pay-per-view draw right now than Alex Pereira? It's not Sean O'Malley. You can say Sean and UFC 306 did numbers, but that was the Sphere doing those numbers. It's got to be Alex Pereira. And obviously his numbers are skewed as well. He headlined in UFC 300. But UFC 303, it was just him carrying that card. And that card did numbers. And that's because Alex Pereira is wildly exciting. Alex Pereira is a role model to what you should be as a fighter. This guy is so aware of his situation, it's out of control. He's 37. He is not young. He does not have much longer in this career. Any moment now, this dude is going to lose, and it's going to be a hard downward slope because he is a 37-year-old striker. But he knows that. And he's trying to get all the money he can now. He's trying to build the legacy now. Stepping up on short notice time and time again. Fighting 4 times in a year. This is how legends are made. This is how legends are. Oh, I just pulled a Jacob, ADHD, to sing. But this is how you build a legacy. This is why Alex Pereira, I don't think you can find a person that doesn't love Alex Pereira. This is how Alex Pereira became the UFC's pay-per-view champion. Because he steps up and he always goes out there and puts on an exciting fight. The good news here is this is striker versus striker. Khalil Rountree has literally attempted 0 takedowns in his UFC career. Alex Pereira has had 1 takedown. 100% accuracy, by the way. He took down Israel Adesanya in that fight. So we have striker versus striker. Alex Pereira, 100% without question, is the more powerful striker. He might be the hardest hitting fighter in the history of this sport across any weight class. But Khalil Rountree is way faster. It's not even close. Lightning fast. He has his own power. So we have a weird situation where if Alex, who has a low hand style and does get hit more than you would like him to, if Alex is plotting with that wide low hand base and Khalil just steps in super fast, he could absolutely blast Alex with a straight right and put him out. If that happened, I am not surprised, and I don't think you should be either. What should happen, though, is Alex Pereira, the decorated kickboxing champion, should be able to use his size, his reach, his strength, his power to knock out Khalil Rountree. That is what absolutely 100% should happen. He's been training at elevation for a little while now. He's taking this very, very seriously. Alex Pereira is a guy who is all business. And I think he wins this fight. I have to pick him to win. I think he wins. This line is juice, though. Minus 550 is crazy. Khalil Rountree is the most dangerous striker that Alex Pereira has fought. Who else? Israel Adesanya is not dangerous. Yuri Prochazka is sloppy as shit. Jan Blachowicz has some power, but not wildly. Khalil Rountree is the most dangerous striker that Alex Pereira has fought. He's lightning fast, has the technique, on this 5-fight win streak. A little bit younger. This is a dangerous fight, but Alex Pereira is going to be the pick. I'm rooting for Alex Pereira. I hope, here's my dream scenario. Alex Pereira knocks out Khalil Rountree. At UFC 309, John Jones beats Stipe Miocic. And then Alex Pereira, they somehow do, let's say Tom Aspinall gets injured. So they somehow do Alex Pereira versus John Jones. I want him to smoke John Jones, become the UFC's heavyweight champion. Then he fights Tom Aspinall, and I want him to beat Tom Aspinall too. I want Alex Pereira to go down as the 3-division champion, the greatest fighter of all time. This guy has earned all of our respect, and as a fan of this sport, I love everything about Alex Pereira and everything that he has done. Guys, that is the breakdown. And here's my sales pitch, and here's a look at how we've done over pay-per-views this year. 10 pay-per-views so far on the year. And we've done quite well. Over 11 units of net profit over these 10 pay-per-views. 7 of those 10 pay-per-views, we were profitable. 70% of the pay-per-views, we make money. The ROI is incredible. I've given you 21% ROI, a combined ROI of 10%. If you want to unlock all the bets that we're going to have for UFC 307, you can do so now. WeWantPicks.com, click Become a Member at the top. It's freaking $10, and we just figured out by looking at a calendar, you're going to get UFC 307, 2 fight nights, and then UFC 308. But it's not just picks and bets. You're also going to get tools. The data analyzer just got a facelift. It just got revamped. It is faster than it has ever been. It has data, insight, information, and tape study for every single fighter on every card all the way out through UFC 309, through November, every single fight card. You can filter the data out. It will update this chart, and then you can interact with that chart, watch the fights themselves. You're going to get the Prop Hunter curated set of data specifically designed to help you find prop bets. You're going to get the line movement tracker, opening odds, current odds, win probability, line movement for every fighter on every card. You're going to get the DraftKings Optimizer. This is built specifically to make DraftKings lineups for you. It is preloaded with ownership projections, scoring projections. You click a few buttons and it spits it out. And if you play DraftKings Fantasy, this is an absolute must. And you're also going to get the artificial intelligence. The artificial intelligence is picking fights based solely off historical data, and it is doing so at a remarkable accuracy. Every single thing that I just mentioned and a million other things, only $10 for an entire month. UFC 307, 2 fight nights, UFC 308. WeWantPicks.com. Click Become a Member at the top. By the time you're watching this, we might be at 30,000 subscribers. And if we are, just a wild, sincere thank you from me to you. Sometimes I get caught up in the negative Nancy, hate watching losers. And I forget that there's a massive chunk of people that just appreciate what we do. So for you guys, thank you so much. I genuinely can't say thank you enough. And I got to do better at noticing you and not the basement dwelling losers. I appreciate you. Good luck this weekend.